Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rahma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me. Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169, and then if you want to ask a question or make a comment, press 1. It'll let me know to put you in queue. Just a heads up, beginning a week from today, next Monday, our show's moving to a new time. It's going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, noon Central Time, and so we're moving it back 1 hour. And so we'll keep announcing that all this week, but that will begin on next Monday. Today is day 134 of our Memorial Day celebration. Oh, and also before I forget to mention it, we're now showing on listening on another radio station, Impact Player Music Nation Radio, and you can pick the information up for that on their website as well. So now we have Blog Talk Radio and we have Impact Player Radio. So it's expanding and growing, and we're looking at doing some recorded programs over the weekend, and so it just keeps growing and growing. So stay with us. Michael, are you there?
I am here, yes, ma'am. And we will be replaying some of our most popular shows. It won't be a call-in process, but at 10 o'clock, I'm not sure whether we're going to start this weekend. We're working toward that, but at 10 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday in the evening, we'll start replaying some of our most popular shows. So we'll actually have a show 7 days a week, although there'll only be 5 days, and again at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. So we're going to shift back an hour starting next Monday for our show times. So, Jeanie, do we have David? Do we have Dr. Tim on with us?
You have Tim.
Hello, Dr. Tim. How are you, sir?
Hello, Michael. Hello, Jeanie.
Hi.
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Happy Columbus Day.
Yep, it's a bunch of people are coming into therapy early in the day because there is no school.
So you're working today?
I am working. And what are you guys doing today?
We're just getting our list done. That it looks like, and we're not totally confirmed yet, but it looks like we're going to leave Heartland a week earlier than we'd originally planned. We were going to be leaving here the 27th or 28th of October to head to Florida. But it looks like we're going to do a week of workshops in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the Unity Church there starting on the 23rd of October.
Great.
So we'll probably be heading out of here the 20th or 21st to get to Greensboro and start a 6-day series of workshops there.
Wonderful.
Then on to Florida.
And then you have a whole slew of things lined up for Florida?
We do. We have several things lined up. We have some writing time set aside, working on some writing projects, the rewriting of Why Is This Happening to Me Again. I'm going to turn the article that I read a couple of weeks ago on the true forgiveness versus pretend forgiveness. We're going to actually turn into an ebook and start to make it available, and doing several other projects. So we'll be taking some time when we're in Florida just to write and put some of those things together, and looking at, and I actually need to chat with you a little bit, Tim, when we've got a chance about blogging, because it's not something I've ever looked into or have many brain cells for, but it looks like something we're going to start, and we want to acknowledge. Go ahead.
I'll be happy to help you with that any way I can.
Awesome. So that's kind of what's happening, and there's a young lady named Marie who was here at the intensives. Actually, she was back twice for intensives this summer, and she's assisting us by doing a new design and facelift on the website. So that's going to be fun and coming online, and I think we're going to integrate that with the blog. And so building lots of new brain cells and, moving forward with the work to the next level.
Well, I'm looking forward to joining you in that and reviewing it as it comes online and listening to the show at a different time, and it's all very exciting.
Cool. Your weekend was awesome?
The weekend was powerful. I did an all-day teaching EFT class on Saturday and had powerful impact for a lot of people, and then got to actually be outside yesterday and do bike riding and take some pictures and slow down for one day of the week. It was very
cool.
nice.
Well, the weather here is absolutely awesome. We are enjoying just this beautiful 70 to 80 degree weather during the day, and it's actually been staying quite warm at night too here, so pretty nice for October.
Yeah, I had the occasion to finish the book for next week's book discussion group that I moderate, and I'd mentioned it earlier. It was it's called The Galilean Secret, and it's a novel, but it's written as a way to try and promote the author's view of what Jesus' real work was. And you might remember my mentioning a book by Jim Stacy, and you had a conversation with Jim Stacy once.
Yeah.
And that book was heavily focused on the need to blend. The book title was Jesus Was Not a Christian. And one of the major themes in that book was the need to blend the male and female aspects of ourselves in order to heal. And that was also a major theme of this, the book, The Galilean Secret. So I'd love to know what their common source work is, because they both seem to be very heavily researched, and these two different authors came away with the core of their work being that forgiveness is important, but primarily healing by acknowledging the feminine aspect of the male and the male aspect of the female. And
Interesting. It'll be interesting to hear more as it comes together. We'll maybe have that discussion.
He doesn't have the same definition for forgiveness. He has the pardoning definition, but he does understand and talk about how the value of forgiveness is for the person who is doing the forgiving, not for the other person. So lots going on, lots of powerful thoughts, and a lot of people who are exposed even over the past week to a lot of your work, and so you'll be getting more people visiting your website because of my class on Saturday, and I'm hoping that we'll hear from somebody from the Sunday night support group. I know they were meeting Sunday, and that they've created a kind of a blogging, journaling, bulletin board type space for their support group. And hopefully we'll get some of them calling in the radio show and letting us know how that support group is going in Cary, Illinois.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Jeanie, do we have any callers or any questions in the chat room? Anywhere to start off the direction of where we're going to head today?
No, just there's a few people in the chat room, and they've all just said hello. And there's several people on the phone, but nobody has their hand up. So I guess everybody's just listening.
Cool. Well, the direction I'd like to go today and talk about is the difference between being in a mindset of Rahma. The last show we talked about happiness and that it's an inside job. And one of the games of the non-being mind is to try to create happiness out of a non-being state. So out of that becomes the game and the desire to avoid and to destroy what it doesn't like. And the minute one goes into that place of fear, that place of negativity, then negative laws are set up, negative rules are set up to try to enforce a positive result. And any system of thought that's in conformity with love, rather than seeking to destroy what is hated or avoid what is feared, would seek to create what is needed, what is right. A negative law in every way, shape, and form violates the primary law, the primary directive of love. And there's no way around it. You can't do negative law, you can't do fear to try to produce a positive result. 2,000 years ago in the physics language, Aramaic, the man named Yeshua spoke the words, let thine eye be single and thy body will be filled with light. Basically what he was saying there was, if you've got a singular focus, then whatever that focus is will fill you, will become energetically part of your structure. And so if your eye is single on darkness, then the light for you will become darkness. That is, the guide you follow will be that which is the negative rule, the negative fear-based thinking, and that will always produce exactly the result that focusing on negativity produces. It's going to do the exact opposite. But those who don't understand and don't know how to forgive from themselves those things based in hostility or fear stay stuck in that cycle of negativity. And we're going to produce this really wonderful result by telling you how you should fear God and how you should fear, and how you should fear and how to get angry with the person who gets in your way but we're really all about love. And it's like, you can't serve two masters. You can't do them both at the same time. It's just not a possibility. So when one creates negative thinking or negative rules in the name of love, what they tend to do is they build protections against what is fear. And that very act violates that first law. And once you recognize the first law has to do with supporting human beingness, then love never surrenders to the promptings of any kind of hostility or fear or hatred or vengeance or what have you. They simply do not, those energies of negativity do not exist in a mind where love is actually active, because the active presence of love eliminates those things. Love, and we define love, the easiest definition. You can't put it into words. It's too big a subject. But if you just told a newborn child, you know what love is. And that presence of love brings the urge to build what is needed, not the desire to destroy what displeases. One who holds any form of hostility or fear or rules based in hostility or fear is very displeased about certain things. It looks at things it doesn't approve of, and in its disapproval, it's willing to kill it, whatever it's focused on. Where love has no such propensity. Love just has no such direction or capacity. Love is just that. And the insanity of an unsound mind, one based in hostility or fear and negative rules, is clear when one recognizes that the actual law of love is that of maintain your human life. And we're here to support everyone in coming into direct contact with, experiencing, and living out of that newborn energy of human life. And in the process, removing, that is, forgiving, anything that never belonged in the human structure in the first place. When we were sold this bill of goods that forgiveness had something to do with letting somebody else off the hook, what happened is we became accumulators of negativity, of disintegrative information and energy, while trying to produce a positive result. And so we're looking to reverse that trend. And the word forgive in Aramaic has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook for what's going on inside of you. The word forgive is the tool with which you go inside yourself and remove what never belonged. You know, at the opening of the show, aside from announcing and reminder, next Monday we're going to start at 1 o'clock. We're going to be doing our show at 1 o'clock Eastern Time and, of course, dropping backward by 1 hour for the rest of our shows. We're going to be moving in that direction starting Monday. But when Jeanie mentioned the Memorial Day honoring process that we're doing, and each day we're inviting everybody in our audience to be willing to look at one arena, one area of your life where you have some form of hostility or fear, which obviously is unlike human life, and be willing to remove it. Whoever it is you think is to blame, whoever you want to point the finger at, that you stop, you use the forgiveness process to remove your capacity to experience whatever that hostility or fear is. And that process is called forgiveness. If you're unaware of that process, we invite you to go to our website, www.whyagain.com. It's www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. The first 4 links will give you the whole story of how to go inside yourself and remove what never belonged in the human life so that you can maintain your human life, whatever object of attention you think of. You know, if you go back to the ancient Aramaic, when they asked what the first law was, they said, you maintain love, a condition called Rahma was the word they used in Aramaic, when you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, which means in Aramaic anybody you think about, and when you think of self. And so it's about maintaining a human life. It isn't about action or activity toward neighbor, toward self, or toward the Creator. So to recognize that the active presence of love is what dissolves hostility and fear, the genius of that directive is just awesome. That as human life is fully engaged and fully lived 24/7, 365, all interaction toward all objects of attention change from the old mindset of hostility and fear. And so that's, in a nutshell, what we're here to support everybody in doing, and we're delighted that you're here. We're honored that you're here to share this showtime with us. Our call-in number, by the way, if you have a question for us on the use of any of the tools, is 646-200-4169. So we'd invite you to call us, 646-200-4169. If you have a question about anything that we're speaking of or a comment, we'd love to hear from you. So this condition called love is not some vague emotion elicited by some sensory-pleasing object, but it's a specific, powerful force in the mind and in the body which allows us and causes us to appreciate, to have all-embracing love for every object of attention. That's what the active presence of a human life is. That's what the active presence of love is. And so it's not about something outside of us that pleases us or makes us happy. It's a condition we maintain because that's our natural state. It's the condition of being. So in essence, we could take that first law and we could say that the idea of that law is that you maintain an actual human life, the awesome active presence of your humanness, love, when you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, when you think of self. That means that you're going to get lots of opportunities to learn forgiveness, to remove the hostilities and fears of your culture, of your family system, of the world, and get back to a human life 24/7, 365. And so that's where we want to head with this work. And Jeanie, any questions? Any callers?
Nope. Everybody's just sitting there. So if you have a question, you're on the switchboard, press 1, and it'll let me know that you do want to ask a question or comment, and I'll put you in queue to talk to Michael.
Cool.
So, Michael.
David is with us now.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have some
cool.
thoughts, but David is here, so let's say hi to David.
Hello, David in Louisville, Kentucky.
Hello, Michael, Tim, Jeanie, and the audience. Gorgeous day
Welcome
here.
to the show.
Pardon me?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Things are going well, processing along, and just preparing. Spent some time this morning with Barbara, who is coming to do some in-depth work at Heartland, and just left her, and I'm on my way back to my place to connect with the folks there and see how things are going.
Fabulous. Do you have anything to share with us today, or any thoughts on what we're talking about this presence of the human life called love?
Well, it was interesting that Barbara and I went to lunch at Panera Bread. Wanted to get online and do a few things, and as she was processing, and she may be on the line, and I invite her to press 1 and include herself in this conversation, that as we were sitting there and all of the considerations coming up about making the move and coming to Heartland, she's so excited about it and just gets just a huge smile on her face, and then she gets the thoughts about some other things, and some fear starts to come up. And we were sitting there, and there was a couple that had their month-old son that was there. And so I had already asked Barbara about her children, and she has 5 children that are pretty grown now, and what it was like to hold them, and her face just lit up. And so when I saw this baby there, as this couple was getting ready to leave, I asked how old it was and commented how gorgeous that it was. I said, so in one word, would you describe to me the essence of your son? And he said, oh, magnificent. And within that, another lady gathered, and then some ladies got up from another table, literally got up and walked over to look at this baby, and they were all commenting and saying things in one word, describing, as you do in the workshop, of the essence of that child. And as Barbara was smiling and looking, and then she would shift and get into some concerns, and some fears would resonate, then I reminded her, now just tap back into your true essence, because that's who you were as a baby, and just one of those things of continuously touching into who it is that we are. And, that is the work. It's my work each moment. I got up this morning with fears all coming up in my mind, and did some breath work, and did a mind shifter, and from there I was able to shift back into a higher consciousness of it. So that's where I'm at today. I would like to, if there's a moment, to read something from a book called The Hidden Language Codes by Neville Johnston that I saw. Yeah. Do we have a minute to do that?
Go for it. Please, David, go for it. Yeah.
So what he's talking about is the language and the codes and how to change different languages. And he says, and he has the highlighted revenge, avenge, vengeance, vendetta, and justice. Someone does something purposely to hurt another. Then what? ? We hurt them. And then someone hurts us for hurting them. Then the next generation takes up in exactly the same place. It's been going on since the first guy hit the other guy, thus creating the first hurt guy. Feud. Now, that's a word not to leave to the kids. The whole thing comes to a stop when we decide to change the way we think. Being raised in this environment makes us a little thin skin. We are trained to be hurt, to look to be hurt. When we are not so easy to hurt, when the buck stops here, when we never hurt our children, we will have time to create an even more magnificent future than just one where nobody even hurts anyone. The concept of justice is supposed to put an end to all of the above. Does it? ? The main difference between the first 4 words and justice, that is the revenge, avenge, vengeance, vendetta, is that justice is done officially by someone else, someone outside of us. This is to assume there is someone outside. Justice was originally a stopgap measure to prevent the primitive us from self-extermination. In other words, someone from Clan A disturbs someone from Clan B, then the 2 clans exterminate each other because of revenge. This results in zero population. In order to preserve people kind, a 3rd clan was invented. Their job was to keep, quote, justice, unquote, from killing everyone. Clan C, the police, the system, sees to it that only the ones who directly hurt the other is punished. No countenance is given to the overall picture. The biggest picture shows that the one hurting was in turn hurt by those who raised him, who were in turn hurt by those who hurt them, and so on, and so on back in time. In order for justice to be done, someone must be treated unjustly. When we actually stop acting guilty, no one will find any reason to act unjustly toward another. Just to put it in our records, a planet is reformed into a civilized once there has been no standing army for 80 generations. And this can be accomplished because everybody on such a planet is raised in a way that they are self-regulating, that they are, better turn the page here, that they are sovereign. The concept of government has become internal instead of external. So I read that this morning and I thought, wow, that just sums it all up to me with about me doing my work so that the generations to come do not, that they are absent of even having this thing of justice, of doing anything of that. And maybe we are, as a planet, getting closer to that. I think we are, anyway. So.
Well, it fits, that thought, David, fits very well with this new article that I'm working on, or actually I had said earlier I'm planning on publishing it as an ebook, and that is the idea that when we had true forgiveness taken away from us on the planet, when the definition of the word was changed from a tool with which we go inside ourselves and remove, to use Neville's words, the hurt guy status from within us, then the hurt guy status, the hurt, is passed on and becomes cumulative from generation to generation to generation. And that's why the ancient scriptures talked about the way that we get out of the desert or the unconscious, the hurt guy status, and enter into the promised land is through forgiveness. And what has to happen, they said, was the old generation has to die off. That meant that everything that was unlike love that had been accumulated through the generations had to be removed. And it's time for us to remove everything that never belonged, instead of some, as you're saying, or as Neville says there, some sort of external system to try to keep in balance what can only be balanced from the inside. To try and solve a problem on the outside rather than address it on the inside becomes an insanity and an impossibility. It's only as each person is given the tools, and that's where the rip-off, the Trojan horse aspect of the idea of true forgiveness being changed from a tool with which you go inside yourself and change your internal content, your hurt guy status, to a tool with which you let somebody else off the hook because you have a hurt guy in there. And so it's about removing the hurt guy. And if 1,000 generations go on and the first person in that 1,000 generations is the hurt guy and nobody forgives, then the 1,000th person has gone through 1,000,000 hurts, and they're all accumulated. They're all right there in the desert. And it's time for us to get into the promised land, time for us to move into a state of sanity. And so that's where we want to head. And Jeanie just tells me we've got 2 callers on the line. So let's jump on and see what our callers have to say.
And we actually lost one, so 954, if you're still listening, if you would call back in. They dropped back off. So we do have another caller, though, area code 607. You're on the air. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
It's Richard in Ithaca. How you doing?
Hey there, Richard. We're well. How are you, sir?
Very good. I want to ask David a favor to send me an email link to that book he's talking about. It's sort of coincidental that over the weekend I ran into a friend of mine, and his wife was with him, and I went to talk to them, and basically had asked, about a year ago I had invited her to do some work with me, and so I could go through my somatic stuff with her, and so I basically went up to her and asked her why she had never followed up on it, and then she informed me that they had been victimized about a year ago. Somebody had broke into their house and had tried to had threatened to kill them and all that stuff, and so it just so happens that it occurred about the same time, and I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know about all this. I knew it had happened, but I didn't know the timing of it in relation to my asking her to help me or work with me. So anyway,
where are we heading, Richard? What's your bottom line? Where are we heading?
It's just basically
trouble following where we're going.
Well, it's what Dave was talking about. They were saying that they were going to be going this week and giving a victim statement because the guy had gotten off less than he had plea bargained, so they wanted to make sure he stayed in jail. So they were going to, and I basically said, well, you may want to consider forgiving him and all this stuff, and anyway, so last night I got an email from her saying how disrespectful I was, inconsiderate, and this and that. And I was like, okay, well, I never expected this from her, and realized that she's probably still in a state of fear and apprehension about men in general are considering what happened, and I basically responded to her saying, well, that was not my intention, and I was disappointed that she felt that way about me. So that's basically my response to her. But I appreciate the link.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be worth going back and listening to the show where we did that last worksheet, because it sounds like a continuation of maybe your invitation to the next level of doing that worksheet. Only it sounds like precisely the same issue. So it might be worth, in the context of our conversation today, giving a listen to that radio show that we did back a few weeks ago where you walk through a worksheet. And maybe this will be another one in your 77 times 70 worksheet issues around that. And perhaps communicate to her that rather than inviting her to forgive him, that what she might want to do is actually apply forgiveness, because, of course, doing anything with him is going to be pardoning him. Right. And pardoning somebody is a nice thing, but it is absolutely not forgiveness. And that's the topic of this article that I'm working on, is the difference between real, true forgiveness and pretend forgiveness. Pretend forgiveness is, oh, you did something terrible, I'll let you off the hook. That's got nothing to do with actual forgiveness. That's a pretend game that makes sure that it perpetuates, that hurt guy status, and that's basically what she's talking about, she's hurt, is going to continue. But rather invite her to go inside herself with true forgiveness, and you might introduce her to the worksheet. Maybe this would be a perfect opportunity to invite her to have you support her in doing a worksheet, and for her to let go of this internalized hostility and fear from what was obviously a very traumatic experience for her. And she might find herself being freed from that, and in being freed from that, bringing a true human life, her true human beingness, to bear on the interaction with this fellow who perpetrated the scene. Just might shift everything that's happening in her life and everybody around her. And of course, your worksheet about being misunderstood and accused, which, if I remember correctly, is exactly what that one was a few weeks ago. It'll be your next piece of work, and hey, everybody will win. She'll have given you another awesome gift.
Well, I think I did mention that to her, that forgiving him was, that she really needs to go inside and forgive herself, and I think that's one of the reasons why she came back at me for the promise she made.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Richard, I wouldn't suggest that you invite her to forgive herself, because now she's back to pretend forgiveness. Oh, I'm going to let myself off the hook for something I did. It's not about forgiving herself. It is not about forgiving him. The invitation to her, I would suggest that you make is, I get that you have some fear and some pain from the interaction with this fellow who attacked you. And so what I'd love to support you in is not forgiving him, not forgiving yourself, but rather, here's a worksheet, to go inside yourself and remove that fear and pain. She might be able to hear that differently then, because, of course, if you're talking about her forgiving herself, then, the automatic conclusion for most minds would be, well, you mean somehow I'm to blame for this? No. It's about removing the hostility and the fear, the pain that she created or has out of that experience. So that invitation might shift and change things a little bit, and of course we'll acknowledge her for giving you the next opportunity to clean up that issue of being misunderstood.
Thank
and
you.
We certainly join you and support you in that.
Thank you.
Hey, delighted, sir. Thanks for the call. Blessings. Have a great day. Have a great holy day tonight.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, our 954 caller has called back in, 954-607. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Hello, how is my heart family? This is Nene.
Nene, we've missed you. Where have you been?
We were talking about you, wondering where you were, Nene.
I'm here, and, I have good news, and I have a challenge. What should I address first?
Oh, let's go for the good news first. That'll make the bad news easier to take.
Okay, so for Sunday, October 23rd, I'm going to be lecturing the Why Is This Happening to Me Again at the Goddess Store in Hollywood, Florida.
Awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations. We will be doing a Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop on the 23rd at Unity in Greensboro, North Carolina. So energetically, we'll just align and connect with you and support you in that presentation. That's fabulous.
Yes, I'm going to forward you the flyer that the lady did. Very nice flyer. And then, if you can invite people also that were already in the workshops, that will be also nice.
Fabulous. Well, congratulations.
I'll put it on the website.
Support you, and we'll get it on the website, and we'll get promoted. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it's going to be a Sunday from 1:30 to perhaps like 2.5 hours. at 4 or something,
Cool.
2.5, 3 hours, depending according to whatever evolves in the workshop.
You let Dayu know that you're doing it?
I just spoke with Carmen, the owner, so today I'm going to forward all the invitations.
Fabulous. Okay, well, that's great news. Now, what's the not so great news, Nene?
Well, been going through a lot of little challenges, in that moment where everything all of a sudden collapses and you go back to a lot of doubt and challenges. Like one is my daughter right now. She's changing from one medicine to the next, and she's having a lot of skin and things are surfacing to the skin. And, she's doing her worksheets and everything, but, I feel kind of frustrated that still I cannot travel and see her. So it's been challenging for me, to deal with the situation, even though I've been doing my worksheets, of course.
So, Nene, am I understanding that she's having some skin eruptions with the change of the medications?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, that might really be a fabulous thing that's happening. Remember that the skin is an eliminative organ, and, every drug is a toxin, and so her body might just be choosing to use the skin to allow the release of the toxicity now that first drug is gone. So that might not necessarily be a bad thing, and what she might want to do is make sure she's drinking lots of water and keeping her diet fairly pure, and by so doing, it'll empower her to allow her skin to throw off what does not belong.
Yeah, she has changed a lot of her diet, and she's doing her work, the spiritual work, and I also thought about it. I said, Lucy, there are a lot of things coming out of your system, so I'm sure that those irritations, the doctor calls it dermatitis, could be part of it. So, but I guess the frustration is not being able to be there. I don't know.
And if the skin eruption is not a short-term thing, if she takes care of herself and stays on track with doing the right things, and the skin eruption is not a short-term problem, then it might be toxicity from the new drug that she's taking, and so she might have to take a second look at that.
Yeah. Yes, I will. Hey, and
the first thing that comes intuitively is that it's probably more to do with her cleansing from the old drug.
Yeah, I thought so, because she was 3 years in that very strong drug. 3 years, I was a lot, that's a lot. Yeah. But I'm glad that she's now in a different one, and she's doing her spiritual work. She's doing it. It's good.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And also, I would like to share quickly that, I did a mind shifter yesterday about truth, because I'm really willing to see even more truth, because I remember that was one of my challenges during the intensive. And it was very strong. I mean, a lot of feelings and things came out so strong, and so much sadness and anger, all those hostility and fear. But I was able to sleep well. However, today, at moments, I feel peaceful, and then at moments, I am in fear, so much in fear.
And what does the fear seem to be attached to, Nene? How can we support you?
Of knowing what to do next.
In terms of your own life, or in terms of your daughter?
No, in terms of my life.
Okay. So how can we support you with that? So is there, if you look back, and of course the question we ask in the intensive so often is, how does that look like your life? And so does having fear about your next step look like an issue that you've had over, different times in your life, over your lifetime.
Yes. Now that you state the question, yes, it's about, all of a sudden I feel alone, but at the same time, I've been always doing everything by myself, but at the same time, there's a fear, like when I was very young, and I had to go to the kinder, and I was with a lot of people around and everything, but I had the same feeling like right now of being alone, or fear of life.
Mm. So it sounds like there's probably your next several worksheets is around this fear of the future, fear of the unknown, fear of changes. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that, with this as clearly over the last few months since you started doing the work, as clearly as you're moving forward in your world, those old realities perhaps of the young child who's going off to kindergarten and, being forced to leave home and go someplace new with all these strangers, that may be the very fear that's coming up to be removed so that you get to the next level of empowerment and clarity for what happens next in your world. So it sounds like that might just be your next worksheet is fear of moving forward, fear of the future, fear of the unknown, a worksheet perhaps on yourself, with yourself as the object of attention, Nene, and what am I going to do in the future, what's my next step? That might be the direction for some worksheets to go.
Yes, I think it is because as you're talking, you're speaking, I got my breath and I got a little bit dizzy. So I think that's the right.
Well, I'd say that's exactly where it is, and the dizziness. Then you're releasing some of that old toxicity, which is awesome because that's what's going to take you to the next level of clarity and empowerment. So fabulous.
Fabulous. Okay, great.
And by the way, we are heading to South Florida, and we will be spending a significant time there over the next few months, off and on. And so you won't be doing anything on your own. We'll be there to support you and to help to open the audience on a wider and wider scale to the work that you're doing with the tools and forgiveness. So we'll be there absolutely to support you every step of the way and to inform and bring more people into awareness there so that you'll have a broader and more available audience to work with the tools as we move on to the next part of the country. You'll be there to support people moving forward, and hopefully we'll have some huge audiences that will be there and available for you to continue to work with them. That'd be fabulous.
Yes. Fabulous. Great, yes. Look forward to it.
By the way, we're also going to be in, and we haven't set anything up there, but the week of the 5th of November, we're going to be spending a week in Orlando. So if there are any folks there for us to work with, maybe a place to present the Why workshop to help to open it up on another level, that certainly would be a possibility.
Yes, I have these people that I know at least I can contact, maybe a church or another, spiritual association. Sure, I'm going to take care of that this week and let you know if I found it.
Cool.
Sure.
So we're going to arrive there.
Thanks.
Jeanie would need to confirm, but I think we're arriving there on November the 5th, I believe.
Okay.
Into
we're actually
the evening of the 5th. We'll be there.
We get there on November 5th, and we're there for a week, and then we go to St. Pete, and then we're back to Orlando for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
So hopefully, we haven't in the past, and they spent a lot of time in Orlando, and so with the work that you've been doing there, we decided that we're going to be doing some writing, but chose to spend some time there in order to see if we can support and help that audience to grow. And so, if you have any thoughts or ideas on venues we might present in, as I say, we're planning to be doing some writing at that point, but we'd be delighted to work with some of the folks that are in that area to see if we can help that audience to grow as well.
Great, yes. Good idea.
Awesome. Well, anything else exciting happening in your world?
Well, as I said before, all of a sudden a lot of challenges with the TV and other companies buying the channels, so that is stopped for the moment. And things quiet, but now I was finally able to find the venue to do the workshop. So, and I think after this MindShifter and with your support today, I think things will start putting back on track.
Cool. Fabulous.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to be in Pompano in November. Actually, we're going to go from Orlando to Pompano, and so we'll be ready to kick off the support group in Pompano at Unity. So that'll be fabulous, and so hopefully that will create a large audience of folks for you to work with the support group there in Pompano and keep things rocking and rolling.
Yep.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay, blessings. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Love
take care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Any other callers, sweetie, or anything in the chat room to be aware of?
No, that's it.
Well, let's go back to Dr. Tim. We left him behind a long time ago. He had some thoughts to share, and let's see if those thoughts are still relative, Dr. Tim.
Are you there?
We're here. Just checking out what your thoughts were earlier that we got that caller and, waylaid.
Yeah, my thought was I was speaking with somebody earlier today doing some work, and this is somebody who's been introduced to the worksheets and the forgiveness process as it comes from the ancient Aramaic, and he was talking about his partner and her difficulty and her anger, and I kept trying to bring him back to what his reaction was to whatever was going on with her. And he said with some great intensity that he felt he was just feeling compassion for her. And I told him that my experience of sitting in the room with him talking was that he wasn't exactly feeling compassion. It was something more like frustration or resentment, and he kind of laughed and said, well, maybe you're right, because I feel like saying to hell with you.
Oh, Tim the Baptist, eh?
So we have that kind of a relationship, and that he can tell when he wants to fight against something I'm saying that I've probably hit one of his emotional buttons. So the next thing was that his next reaction was, but the next thing you're going to tell me is that I've got to do more worksheets. And I said, well, yes, if you're having any form of hostility or fear, then a worksheet is one of the tools that might be appropriate. And I said, we must be relentless in, and he stopped me. He said, oh, my God, I just knew you were going to say this. He said, 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with you in my head, and I was using the word relentless, saying, you're relentless in telling me I have to do my work. And then 2 days later, in real life, I used that word relentless. And I said, well, I use the word relentless and I use the word vigilant because if I observe that something is true, it's actual, it's powerful, it's an actual way things work in the world, then I want to keep observing it and questioning it, because if it's true in one situation, it's likely to be true in every situation. And when I let down my guard or I allow myself to be derailed from that observation, it's usually an ego process or a fear process or a hostility process. And I said that's the root of all of the violence in our world. If you start with a religion that says God is love, and you're made in the image and likeness of God, so that you're love, and love your neighbor, and love your enemy as yourself. And then you say, but if the person lives 2 villages over, it's okay to be angry with them. And if they live across the ocean, it's okay to kill them. You have to deviate from that fundamental observation, and every time you do, it leads to more and more escalation of violence and anger and fear. And the only way to avoid that I know of, is to be vigilant and relentless in my vigilance and application of the observation and the tools that help bring me back to that state of love. So that was my offering.
Cool. Sounds powerful. And of course, when you recognize and you bring up the point of how people want to have this so-called thing called love for those who are close to them, they're close objects of attention, but the ones more distant deserve their hostility or fear. You get back to the genius of the man named Yeshua, who gives us a priority for this object of attention, and that is the first one is the Creator, and the second one is neighbor, anybody that you think about, that you maintain your human life, because the human mind simply does not function satisfactorily unless it's plugged into its human beingness, its proper power supply. And these targets, Creator and neighbor, and in Aramaic, where it speaks of love, God, neighbor, as self, in Aramaic what it says is from self. The beingness of being is what you need to maintain in the presence of that neighbor or the Creator. And so our objective here is to learn ourselves and to support everyone in maintaining the beingness of being for every object of attention we turn to. Without the active presence of that human life, love, one cannot successfully reduce stress in their own lives without harm. If that active presence of love is absent from a person's mind, what happens is a life of poor relationships, poor health, criminality, substance abuse, mental, emotional, and physical difficulty becomes normal, instead of what's planned, and that is an abundant life full of joy, useful service, and aliveness. And we're here to support you having the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Blessings.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.